The great hall of the Galaxy Assembly buzzed with thousands of different voices. Creatures from 847 worlds sat in their special seats, each one made for their unique bodies. Some breathed water, others needed super cold air, and a few even floated in energy fields. The massive space station hung in orbit around Kepler 442b, a neutral world that belonged to no one. Ambassador Dong Mian walked through the main corridor with steady steps. His black hair was starting to show gray at the edges, and his dark eyes held the calm look of someone who had solved many problems. Behind him came Counselor Nari, a sharp woman who knew how different alien minds worked. Captain Wu Jin followed them both, his military uniform neat and clean. "The Zephyrians are angry again," Nari said quietly as they walked. "They say the Mantis people are stealing their trade routes." "Same old problem," Dongmin replied. "We will fix it like always." For 30 years, humans had been the ones who solved fights between alien races. When the bird-like Zephyrians argued with the insect Mantis Confederation, humans found the answer. When the water-breathing Aquarians fought with the rock-based Silicates, humans made peace. Every species trusted them to be fair. The three humans entered the Great Hall. The ceiling stretched up so high it seemed to touch space itself. Thousands of aliens sat in circles, all facing the center where speakers would stand. The air hummed with translation devices that turned every language into sounds others could understand. Chancellor Ziltar of the Zephyrians stood first. His golden feathers shook with anger. "The Mantis Confederation has attacked our shipping routes again. They steal our goods and claim our space belongs to them." Queen Voice Threx rose from the Mantis section. Her 6 arms clicked together in a pattern that meant extreme displeasure. "The Zephyrians lie. Those routes have been ours for 300 years. They are the thieves." The hall erupted in noise. Hundreds of species began talking at once. Some supported the Zephyrians, others backed the Mantis people. A few just wanted the trade routes to stay open for everyone. "Order, order," called the assembly speaker, a tall gray being from the neutral core. "Ambassador Dongmin will mediate this dispute as usual." All eyes turned to the human section. Dongmin had solved this same fight 12 times before. Everyone expected him to stand up, ask questions, and find a way to make both sides happy. That was what humans did. Instead, Dongmin stood slowly and walked to the center of the hall. His footsteps echoed in the sudden quiet. Nari and Wu Jin watched him with worried faces. Something was different today. "Honored representatives," Dongmin began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "The Terran Federation has an announcement." The hall grew completely silent. Even the background hum of life support systems seemed to quiet down. Effective immediately, the Terran Federation withdraws from all current and future negotiations. "We will honor our existing treaties, but we will not make any new diplomatic agreements. We will not mediate disputes. We will not participate in trade talks. We will not help solve conflicts." The silence stretched for 3 full seconds. Then chaos exploded. Chancellor Siltar's feathers stood straight up. "What? You cannot do this. Who will solve our problems?" Queen Voice Threx clicked her mandibles so fast it sounded like machine gun fire. "Humans have duties, responsibilities. You signed agreements." The water-filled tank that held Ambassador Glub 7 bubbled furiously. The peaceful Aquarians rarely showed emotion, but their representative was clearly upset. Aliens jumped up from their seats. Some shouted in languages the translators could not handle fast enough. Others made threatening gestures with claws, tentacles, or energy fields. A few species began to leave the hall immediately. Dongmin stood calm in the center of it all. He removed the small translation device from his ear and placed it on the speaker's podium. Nari and Wu Jin did the same with their devices. Then Dongmin took off the golden badge that showed his diplomatic immunity and set it down too. "We are sorry," he said, though most aliens could no longer understand his words without the translators. "This is necessary." The 3 humans walked toward the exit. Alien security tried to block their way, but Captain Wu Jin held up his hand. "We are still protected by existing treaties until we reach our ship," he said in basic galactic common, a simple language most species understood. The crowd followed them, shouting questions and demands. Chancellor Ziltar flew overhead, his wings beating hard. "Explain yourselves. The galaxy needs human wisdom." But the humans kept walking. They moved through corridors filled with angry aliens, past shops and restaurants where different species had learned to live together in peace. Everything humans had helped build over 3 decades. At the docking bay, their ship waited. It was a simple diplomatic vessel, white and clean with the blue Earth symbol on its side. As they climbed aboard, hundreds of aliens pressed against the viewing windows of the station. "Sir," the ship's pilot asked. "Where are we going?" "Home," Dongmin said quietly. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed." The ship pulled away from the station. Through the main window, they could see the galaxy assembly growing smaller. Behind them, they left chaos. The Zephyrians and Mantis people were already shouting at each other again. Other species were choosing sides or trying to leave. Nari sat down heavily in her chair. "They will never forgive us for this." "Maybe," Dongmin replied. "But they might thank us later." "If there is a later," Captain Wu Jin added grimly. As their ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, emergency sessions were already starting back at the assembly. Without human mediation, the Zephyrian Mantis conflict got worse in just hours. Border skirmishes broke out. Trade ships were attacked. The careful peace that had lasted for decades began to fall apart. But none of the aliens knew what the humans knew. None of them had seen the reports from the deep space archaeological teams. None of them understood what was coming from the dark space between galaxies. The human ship raced toward Earth, carrying its terrible secret. Behind them, the galaxy began to tear itself apart, just as it had done so many times before. And far away, at the very edge of known space, long-range sensors detected something that made human military commanders go pale with fear. Massive fleet movements were happening throughout human space. Every ship, every colony, every outpost was receiving the same orders. Withdraw immediately. Move toward the galactic rim. Prepare for what was coming. The great game was about to begin, and humanity was the only species that knew the rules. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the massive warship Seoul's Pride and watched the stars change. His ship was moving fast toward the edge of human space, along with 300 other vessels. The biggest movement of human forces in history was happening, and almost no one outside humanity knew why. "Admiral, we have confirmation from the outer colonies," reported his communications officer. "New Seoul colony has evacuated completely. The mining stations at Kepler 438 are empty. All civilian ships are moving toward the galactic rim as ordered." Hyunwoo nodded. His weathered face showed no emotion, but inside he felt the weight of what they were doing. Humans were abandoning everything they had built over centuries. Colonies, trade stations, diplomatic outposts, research facilities, all of it left behind. "Any word from the aliens?" he asked. "The Zephyrians are demanding explanations. The Mantis Confederation is threatening to occupy our abandoned colonies. The Aquarians are confused." 3 days had passed since Ambassador Dongmin had shocked the Galaxy Assembly. In those 3 days, everything had changed. Human ships were pulling out of every non-human system. Trade agreements were being canceled. The human companies that moved goods between worlds had simply stopped working. The galaxy was falling apart without human help. On the water world of Aquarius Prime, 2 different species were fighting over water rights that humans used to manage. The crystal beings and the fish-like Aquarians had lived in peace for 50 years because humans found ways for them to share. Now laser fire lit up the ocean surface as both sides claimed the same underwater cities. In the Mantis home system, Queen Voice Threx was mobilizing the warrior castes. Without human mediation, old enemies were becoming threats again. The bird-like Zephyrians were doing the same thing, preparing their flying warships for battle. "Sir," a young officer interrupted Hyunwoo's thoughts. "Dr. So Young is requesting a private meeting. She says it's about the archaeological findings. Send her in." Dr. So Young entered the bridge a few minutes later. She was a small woman with tired eyes and hands that shook slightly from too much coffee and not enough sleep. In her arms, she carried a sealed container with the highest security markings. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, opening the container. Inside were crystal data storage devices and holographic projectors. "We found more ruins, 7 new sites in the past week." She activated one of the projectors. A 3-dimensional image appeared in the air above them. It showed a massive city, but the buildings were wrong somehow. They twisted in ways that hurt to look at, and strange symbols covered every surface. "This is from the planet Kepler 442c, just one system away from the Galaxy Assembly Station," So Young explained. "The ruins are buried deep, but our sensors found them. The same warning symbols, the same star charts, the same message." "What message?" Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew the answer. They return with the dark between stars, So Young read from her notes. Every 50,000 years they come from the void between galaxies. They harvest everything, technology, life force, knowledge. They leave nothing behind but empty space. The hologram changed to show star charts. Dots of light marked hundreds of galaxies with dates written in the ancient universal script that all advanced civilizations could read. Look at this pattern, So Young continued. Galaxy M31 harvested 2.4 million years ago. Galaxy M33 harvested 1.8 million years ago. Our galaxy, she paused. Our galaxy was last harvested exactly 50,000 years ago. They are coming back, Hyunwoo said. It was not a question. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected gravitational anomalies at the galactic edge. Something massive is moving through the void between galaxies. The computer models say we have maybe 5 years before they arrive. Hyunwoo looked at the star charts again. Each galaxy that had been harvested was now dark, empty space with no signs of life or civilization. Hundreds of galaxies, all dead. Have we told the other species? He asked. So Young shook her head. The president decided against it. Remember what happened to the Andromedans? Hyunwoo remembered. 500 years ago, radio signals from the Andromeda galaxy had reached Earth. The messages told of a great threat coming from intergalactic space. The Andromedans were preparing to fight, asking for help from anyone who could hear them. Then the signals stopped. When Earth's telescopes looked at Andromeda, they saw nothing but empty space where billions of stars used to be. The previous cycles always failed, So Young continued. Even when civilizations knew what was coming, even when they worked together, the harvest always succeeded. The only species that survived did it by running away, hiding in the deep void until the danger passed. But we are not running away, Hyunwoo observed. No. We are preparing to fight. General Taeho thinks we might have a chance. The ruins left behind weapons, quantum disruptors that can hurt these creatures. If we can build enough of them, if we can organize a proper defense. If the other species will help us, Hyunwoo finished, which they will not do if they panic. Look what is happening already. Just from us withdrawing from negotiations. Imagine if they knew the real reason. Through the bridge windows they could see other human ships in formation. Massive cargo vessels carried the components for secret weapons factories. Military transports held soldiers who did not yet know what they would be fighting. Research ships contained the best human scientists, all working on technologies that might save the galaxy. Admiral, the communications officer called out. We are receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's General Taeho. The main screen activated, showing the stern face of the human military commander. Behind him they could see the war room where humanity's greatest leaders were planning the defense of everything they had ever known. Admiral Hyunwoo, report on fleet status, General Taeho ordered. All ships are moving according to plan, General. We will reach the Rim territories in 6 days. The weapon factories can begin construction immediately. Good. Dr. So Young, what about the archaeological sites? We have teams working on 12 different worlds now, General. The weapon blueprints are clearer with each site we discover. We think we can build quantum disruptors that will actually work against these creatures. Think? General Taeho's voice was sharp. The math checks out, sir, but we have never tested them against a real target. We will get our chance to test them soon enough, the general said grimly. Our deep space monitors have detected the first scout ships emerging from dark space. They are still 4 light-years away, but they are definitely heading toward our galaxy. The bridge went silent. Everyone had known this moment would come, but hearing it confirmed made it real. How long do we have? Hyunwoo asked. The scouts will reach the outer rim in 18 months. The main fleet... General Taeho paused, checking his data. 4 years, maybe 5. These creatures can accelerate by consuming dark matter itself. What are your orders, sir? Continue with the withdrawal. Get every human ship and colony to the Rim territories. Begin construction of the defense platforms immediately, and prepare for the possibility that we might have to tell the other species the truth. They will panic, So Young said. Some will. Others might surprise us. But right now they are too busy fighting each other to help anyone. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge crew to think about what they had heard. Scout ships from another galaxy were already approaching. In less than 5 years, a fleet that had destroyed hundreds of galaxies would arrive to harvest everything they had ever known. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of their galaxy, Creatures older than human civilization were coming to destroy everything, and humanity was the only species that knew. The Great Withdrawal continued. Human ships moved toward the rim like a tide pulling back before a tsunami. Behind them, the galaxy burned as species fought wars that humans used to prevent. Ahead of them, in the dark between stars, ancient nightmares were waking up. The harvest was coming, and humanity was preparing to do something that had never been done before: fight back. Captain Ji-hoon gripped the controls of his stealth ship as it moved through the darkness at the edge of known space. The Busan runner was built for missions like this: small, fast, and almost invisible to most sensors. Behind him, engineer Minji worked at her station while psychologist Jae-sung monitored alien communication channels. "Contact ahead," Minji reported quietly. "Unknown vessel, approximately 12 kilometers long. Design does not match any known species." Ji-hoon felt his mouth go dry. They had found what they were looking for, but part of him had hoped they would find nothing. Through the main viewport, he could see a shape that made his eyes hurt to look at. The ship was not built like anything humans or aliens made. It twisted and curved in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. "That is a scout ship," he whispered. "One of theirs. Biomechanical construction," Minji added, reading her instruments. "It is not made of metal or synthetic materials. It is grown like a living creature, but bigger than any natural organism could be." "It is scanning nearby star systems," Jae-sung observed from his station. "Look at these energy patterns. It is cataloging planets, counting populations, measuring technological development." "Making a shopping list," Ji-hoon said grimly. For 3 months, human stealth ships had been patrolling the galactic rim, looking for signs of the approaching threat. This was the first time they had found actual evidence. The scout ship hung in space like a sleeping monster, collecting information about everything it could reach. "Can we capture it?" Minji asked. "Negative. Too big, too dangerous. But maybe we can follow it and see where it goes." They watched for 6 hours as the alien scout methodically scanned 17 different star systems. Each scan took about 20 minutes, and with each one, Ji-hoon felt more worried. The creature was learning about their defenses, their population centers, their technology levels. "Captain," Jae-sung said suddenly, "I am picking up communication signals. The scout is transmitting data to something else." "Where?" "Deep space beyond our sensor range. But the signal is very strong, which means there are a lot more of them out there," Ji-hoon finished. They followed the scout ship for 3 more days as it moved closer to inhabited space. On the 3rd day, it made contact with something that made all their alarms go off at once. "Multiple contacts," Minji reported, her voice tight with fear. 15. No, 20 ships, all the same biomechanical design but much larger. Through their enhanced sensors, they could see the aliens meeting in empty space between star systems. The ships were enormous, and some over 50 kilometers long. They moved like living things, flowing and twisting as they communicated with each other through energy patterns that hurt to watch. "They are planning something," Jae-sung observed. "Those energy patterns, they are too organized to be random. It looks like military coordination." "Recording everything," Minji confirmed. "This data needs to get back to Earth immediately." But as they watched, one of the larger ships suddenly turned toward their position. Even though the Busan runner was supposedly invisible, something had detected them. "They know we are here," Ji-hoon said, starting the ship's engines. "Hang on." The alien ship moved toward them with impossible speed. It did not accelerate gradually like normal ships. Instead, it seemed to skip through space, appearing closer each second without traveling through the distance between. "How is it doing that?" Minji demanded, working frantically at her controls. "Quantum tunneling, maybe? Or space-time manipulation? I do not know, but we need to get out of here now." Ji-hoon pushed their ship to maximum speed, but the alien vessel kept getting closer. Energy beams that looked like liquid light reached out toward them, missing by only a few hundred meters. "Jump to FTL in 10 seconds, he announced. "Wait," Jae-sung called out. "The alien ship, it is slowing down. It is not trying to catch us anymore." Ji-hoon looked at his screens. The psychologist was right. The massive biomechanical ship had stopped pursuing them and was turning back toward its companions. Why did it stop? Minji wondered. "Because it got what it wanted," Jae-sung said grimly. "It scanned us. Now it knows what human technology looks like." They jumped to faster-than-light travel and raced back toward human space. The data they carried was terrifying but necessary. The enemy was real, it was already here, and it was learning about the galaxy's defenses. 2 weeks later, Ji-hoon stood in a secure briefing room on Earth, surrounded by the highest-ranking military officers and scientists in human space. The room was deep underground, protected by the strongest shields humanity could build. The creatures call themselves the Devourers, reported Dr. Young-ho, a physicist who had been studying the scout ship data. Based on what we observed, they exist partially outside normal spacetime. That is how they can move so fast and why their ships look wrong to our eyes. How many of them are there? Asked General Tae-ho. The main fleet is still approximately 3 years away, Dr. Young-ho continued. But our long-range sensors suggest millions of ships. Each one is the size of a small moon. Millions, someone whispered. Their technology is based on quantum manipulation of living matter, Dr. Young-ho explained. They grow their ships like we might grow crops. But these ships can think, and they feed on the life force and technological essence of other civilizations. Feed on what? General Tae-ho demanded. They drain the quantum patterns that make up consciousness and technology. When they harvest a civilization, they do not just kill it. They consume everything that civilization ever created or thought. The victims do not just die, they are completely erased from existence. The room fell silent as everyone tried to understand what that meant. However, we have some hope, Dr. Young-ho continued. The ancient weapons we found in the ruins can damage them. Quantum disruptors interfere with their ability to exist in multiple dimensions at once. If we can build enough of them, how many is enough? General Tae-ho asked. To defend the entire galaxy? We would need the combined industrial capacity of at least 50 major civilizations working together for 3 years. And right now, those civilizations are fighting each other instead of helping us, observed Admiral Subin, who commanded the Home Defense Fleet. Which brings us to the real problem, said President Yoon-hae, speaking for the first time. Do we tell them? The question hung in the air like a poison cloud. Everyone knew what she meant. Should humanity reveal the truth to the other species and risk galaxy-wide panic? Or should they continue trying to prepare alone? The Zephyrians and Mantis people are already at war, reported Ambassador Bora, the former diplomatic corps member who now served as crisis liaison. The crystalline hegemony has annexed 2 neutral systems. Trade routes are collapsing. Some species are talking about forming military alliances against us. Against us? President Yoon-hae asked. They think we have gone insane or are planning some kind of human empire. The Intervention Alliance has formed. 67 species working together to force us back to the negotiating table. How big is their fleet? General Tae-ho wanted to know. Over 10,000 ships. They are converging on the Centauri system right now, demanding answers. President Yoon-hee looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. Each one showed the strain of carrying a secret that could save or doom the galaxy. If we tell them, some will panic and flee, she said slowly. Others will not believe us. A few might help, but if we do not tell them, they might attack us just when we need to be preparing defenses. There is something else, Dr. Young-ho added quietly. Our deep space monitors detected a massive energy surge from the intergalactic void 18 hours ago. The main Devourer fleet has begun accelerating. They will be here in 2 years, not 3. The weight of that news settled on everyone like a physical blow. 2 years to build defenses for an entire galaxy. 2 years to somehow unite hundreds of species that were currently trying to kill each other. 2 years to prepare for a threat that had already destroyed countless other galaxies. We have to tell them, President Yoon-hae decided. We cannot do this alone and we are running out of time. Ambassador Bora, prepare a full disclosure broadcast for transmission to all major civilizations. Madam President, General Tae-ho said carefully. If we do this, there is no going back. The galaxy will never be the same. General, if we do not do this, there will be no galaxy left to worry about. As the meeting ended, each person left carrying the knowledge that humanity was about to make the biggest gamble in galactic history. They would reveal the truth about the Devourers and hope that other species would help them fight. If they were wrong, the panic alone might destroy civilization before the harvest even began. But if they were right, if enough species joined the fight, then maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. This time the galaxy might actually survive. President Yoon-hae stood before the largest communication array ever built, preparing to send a message that would change the galaxy forever. Behind her, technicians worked frantically to ensure the broadcast would reach every inhabited world simultaneously. This would be the most important speech in the history of any species. Madam President, Communications Director Park said quietly, the Intervention Alliance fleet has arrived at Centauri. They are demanding immediate negotiations. Admiral Subin reports they have weapons trained on our defense platforms. How many ships? 12,000, representing 67 different species. Chancellor Ziltar of the Zephyrians is leading them. He says they will use force if necessary to make us resume diplomatic relations. Yunhai nodded grimly. The alien fleet had arrived at exactly the wrong time. In just a few minutes, she would tell them why humanity had withdrawn from galactic politics. The truth would either unite them or destroy any chance of working together. Begin the broadcast, she ordered. Across the galaxy, normal communications stopped. Every news channel, every government frequency, every emergency system carried the same signal. On thousands of worlds, billions of creatures stopped what they were doing to listen. Citizens of the galaxy, President Yunhai began. I am Yunhai, President of the Terran Federation. What I am about to tell you will be difficult to believe, but every word is true. Your lives, your civilizations, and your children depend on you understanding this message. In the Centauri system, Chancellor Ziltar watched the broadcast from his command ship. His golden feathers were ruffled with anger, but he listened. 3 months ago, human archaeological teams discovered ruins on dozens of worlds. These ruins contained a warning written in the ancient universal script. The warning spoke of creatures that come from the dark space between galaxies every 50,000 years. They harvest advanced civilizations, consuming not just life but the very essence of knowledge and consciousness. On the bridge of the Mantis flagship, Queen Voice Threx clicked her mandibles nervously. The human female looked serious, but this sounded like science fiction. We call them the Devourers, President Yunhai continued. They have already destroyed hundreds of other galaxies. Our galaxy was last harvested exactly 50,000 years ago. They are returning. The broadcast showed holographic images from the archaeological sites, ancient cities with impossible architecture, star charts marking dead galaxies, and weapon blueprints that looked like they came from a nightmare. Our deep space monitoring stations have confirmed their approach. Scout ships are already at our galactic rim. The main harvest fleet will arrive in less than 2 years. Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate and catastrophic. On the water world of Aquarius Prime, entire cities began evacuating. The peaceful Aquarians had never experienced real fear before, and they did not know how to handle it. In the crystalline hegemony, the silicon-based rulers immediately began calculating escape routes to other galaxies. Their crystal minds processed the information quickly and decided that flight was the only logical response. The Zephyrian homeworlds erupted in panic. Their bird-like instincts told them to flee from predators, but there was nowhere in the galaxy to hide. This is why humanity withdrew from negotiations, President Yunhai explained. Not because we no longer cared about galactic peace, but because we needed to prepare for a threat that could destroy everything we have built together. She gestured to Ambassador Bora, who stepped forward with a sealed container. We are sharing everything we have learned, the location of all archaeological sites, the weapon blueprints we have discovered, our analysis of Devourer technology and weaknesses. We are giving this information freely to any civilization willing to help defend our galaxy. On the Mantis homeworld, Queen Voice Threx was already calling emergency sessions of the warrior castes. If these Devourers existed, the Mantis people would fight them. It was what they did. But not everyone believed the human message. In the Serpentine Empire, the snake-like rulers hissed with suspicion. They thought this was an elaborate human trick to gain control of the galaxy through fear. The evidence is fake, declared Emperor Sistak, his forked tongue tasting the air for deception. Humans create this threat to make us dependent on them again. Similar responses came from dozens of other civilizations. The crystalline hegemony accused humans of trying to steal their technology. The Silicon Collective claimed the archaeological evidence was fabricated. Even some of humanity's closest allies questioned whether the threat was real. But 3 major civilizations responded immediately with offers of support. The Canine Federation, a warrior culture that valued honor above all else, pledged their entire military to the defense effort. Admiral Ruff 7, their pack leader, sent a simple message. If enemies come to hunt the galaxy, the pack will fight. The Aquarians, despite their initial panic, offered their advanced quantum technology. Their water-based computers could process the ancient weapon blueprints faster than any other civilization. Most surprisingly, the mysterious void dwellers came out of hiding for the first time in centuries. These strange beings lived in the empty space between star systems, and they sent a cryptic message. We have watched the dark between galaxies for millennia. The humans speak truth. We will share what we know. At Centauri, Chancellor Ziltar found himself facing an impossible decision. Half his fleet wanted to return home immediately to prepare defenses. The other half still believed this was a human deception. Show us proof, he demanded over the communication channels. If these devourers exist, show us one of their ships. Admiral Subin, commanding the human forces at Centauri, made a decision that changed everything. She ordered Captain Ji-hoon to bring his stealth ship forward and share the reconnaissance data he had gathered. The holographic display showed the alien scout ships in all their terrifying detail. The biomechanical vessels that twisted through space in ways that hurt to watch. The energy patterns that suggested intelligence far beyond anything in the galaxy. This data was recorded 18 days ago at the Galactic Rim, Admiral Subin announced. These creatures are real, and they are already here. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate. Some ships began turning toward home, their crews desperate to warn their people. Others moved closer to the human positions, their commanders realizing that cooperation might be their only chance of survival. But the broadcast also triggered the worst fears of several species. The crystalline hegemony immediately began dismantling their industrial capacity, planning to flee the galaxy entirely. 3 smaller civilizations started wars with their neighbors, trying to steal resources for escape ships. Within hours of the broadcast, the galaxy was in chaos. Some species rallied to help humanity build defenses. Others panicked and tried to run. A few refused to believe the threat was real and continued fighting among themselves. We have perhaps 18 months to prepare, President Yoon-hye concluded her broadcast. The ancient weapons can hurt these creatures, but we need the combined industrial capacity of dozens of civilizations to build enough of them. We cannot do this alone. On Earth, the response teams tracked reactions from across the galaxy. The results were mixed. 23 major civilizations had pledged immediate support. 15 were evacuating their core worlds. 37 refused to believe the threat was real. The remainder were still deciding, is it enough? Asked General Tae-ho, reviewing the numbers. It has to be, replied Dr. Young-ho, the physicist leading the Quantum Disruptor Project. With Aquarian computers, canine manufacturing, and void dweller exotic materials, we might be able to build defensive platforms around the most important systems. What about the species that are fleeing? Asked Admiral Subin. Let them go, President Yoon-hye decided. Better to have willing allies than reluctant ones. The species that stay will fight harder because they chose to be here. As the first day after the broadcast ended, humanity began receiving detailed technical specifications from their new allies. The Aquarians shared quantum computer designs that could process weapon calculations faster than anything humans had built. The Canine Federation offered manufacturing facilities that could work around the clock. The Void Dwellers provided materials that existed partially outside normal space-time, but they also received disturbing reports from the Galactic Rim. The Devourer scout ships were moving deeper into inhabited space, getting bolder as they scanned more systems. And long-range sensors detected something that made every human military commander go pale with worry. The main harvest fleet had accelerated again. Instead of 2 years, they now had 18 months before the Devourers arrived in force. The galaxy had chosen sides. Some would fight, some would flee, and some would pretend the threat did not exist. But for the first time in 50,000 years, one species was not just preparing to be harvested. Humanity and its allies were preparing to fight back. Fleet Admiral Da-un watched the tactical display with calm eyes as thousands of ships moved into position around the Vega system. This would be humanity's last stand, and she commanded the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Human vessels flew alongside canine warships, Aquarian research platforms, and the strange void-black ships of the mysterious Void Dwellers. Status report, she requested from her command ship. The massive dreadnought New Sol. All defensive platforms are online, reported her tactical officer. 300 quantum disruptor stations in a sphere around Vega Prime. The Aquarian computers are running final calculations on the weapon targeting systems. Canine manufacturing ships? Still producing ammunition for the disruptors. Admiral Ruff 7 says his people can work for another 48 hours without rest. Void Dweller exotic matter reserves? Sufficient for 6 hours of sustained combat, assuming normal engagement parameters. Dayun nodded. Normal engagement parameters. As if anything about this battle would be normal. In 16 hours, the Devourer harvest fleet would reach the Vega defense line. Everything humanity and its allies had built over the past year would be tested against creatures that had destroyed hundreds of galaxies. On one of the research platforms, Dr. Young-Ho made final adjustments to his secret weapon. The quantum cascade device looked simple, just a metal sphere covered in complex circuitry. But the mathematics behind it had taken him 8 months to work out. "Are you certain this will work?" asked Captain Heywan, the pilot who would deliver the weapon to its target. "The theory is sound," Dr. Young-Ho replied, not looking up from his calculations. "The Devourers exist partially outside normal spacetime. If we can create a large enough quantum disruption at the center of their fleet, it should cascade through their entire formation and collapse their dimensional anchors." "Should," Heywan repeated. "Captain, we are fighting creatures that have harvested entire galaxies. Should is the best we can do." Heywan looked at the prototype dreadnought New Earth through the platform's viewport. Her ship was the fastest and most heavily armored vessel humanity had ever built. It would have to carry the cascade device through the center of the enemy fleet, while every Devourer ship tried to destroy it. "If this works, what happens to my ship?" she asked. Dr. Young-Ho finally looked up from his work. His eyes were tired but honest. "The cascade explosion will be larger than a star-going supernova. Your ship will not survive." Heywan nodded. She had known that from the beginning. This was a one-way mission, and she had volunteered anyway. Across the defense line, similar conversations were happening on hundreds of ships. Everyone knew the odds. The Devourers had never been defeated. Their technology was thousands of years more advanced. Their ships were larger than cities and could exist in multiple dimensions at once. But for the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy was not just waiting to be harvested. They were fighting back. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "long-range sensors are detecting the enemy fleet. They will be in visual range in 8 hours. Show me," Da'an ordered. The main display changed to show the edge of the Vega system. At first there was nothing but empty space. Then the sensors began picking up gravitational anomalies. Space itself was bending around massive objects, moving faster than should be possible. "Confirmed count?" Dayun asked. "Approximately 2 million ships, ranging in size from 1 kilometer to over 300 kilometers in length. The largest vessels appear to be..." The sensor officer paused, checking his readings again. "The largest vessels are the size of small moons. 2 million ships. Even with all their preparations, the Allied fleet numbered only 50,000 vessels. They were outnumbered 40 to 1 by creatures that had destroyed entire galactic civilizations, Admiral. Rough 7 is requesting permission to advance his pack to forward positions," reported the communications officer. "Granted. Signal all canine ships to take point positions. Their armor is better than ours." The dog-like canines had insisted on being the first to engage the enemy. Their warrior culture considered it an honor to face the strongest opponents. Admiral Rough 7 had personally volunteered his flagship for the most dangerous position in the formation. "Aquarian platforms are ready to provide targeting data," the communications officer continued. "Void Dweller ships report they are prepared to phase shift on your command." Dayun looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. Humans mostly, but also a few aliens who had volunteered to serve alongside them. A young Aquarian operated one of the sensor stations. A canine engineer worked at the weapons controls. Even a Void Dweller, barely visible in its environmental suit, monitored the exotic matter systems. "This is what we have been preparing for," she announced to the entire fleet. "In a few hours we will face an enemy that has never been defeated. But we are not fighting alone. We are fighting as allies, as friends, as a united galaxy." She paused, looking at the tactical display that showed their forces arrayed against an enemy that vastly outnumbered them. "The Devourers have harvested countless civilizations because those civilizations fought alone, scared and unprepared. We are not alone. We are not scared. And we are very, very prepared." The hours passed quickly. Supply ships made final ammunition runs. Engineering teams completed last-minute repairs. Medical stations prepared for casualties that everyone hoped would not come. At 14:30 Galactic Standard Time, the Devourer fleet entered visual range. The enemy ships were even more terrifying in person than they had been in the reconnaissance recordings. They moved through space like living things, their biomechanical hulls shifting and flowing as they advanced. Energy patterns flickered across their surfaces in colors that had no names. Beginning engagement, Dayun announced. The quantum disruptor platforms opened fire first. Beams of pure energy lanced out across millions of kilometers, striking the lead Devourer ships. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the enemy vessels began to flicker, their dimensional anchors destabilizing. "Direct hits confirmed," reported the weapons officer. "Enemy ships are taking damage, but the Devourers adapted quickly. Their formation shifted and new energy shields appeared around their ships. The quantum disruptors were still effective, but not as much as before. They are learning our weapons," observed the tactical officer. "Expected," Dayun replied. All ships advanced to engagement range. "Begin rotating disruptor frequencies." The Allied fleet moved forward to meet the enemy. K-9 warships howled their battle cries as they charged into the massive Devourer formation. Aquarian ships used precise targeting to hit the most vulnerable enemy vessels. Human ships coordinated the overall battle plan while Void Dweller vessels phased in and out of normal space to strike from unexpected angles. The battle was unlike anything ever seen before. Ships the size of cities traded fire with vessels that bent space around them. Energy weapons that could destroy planets met shields that existed in multiple dimensions. The space around Vega lit up with explosions that could be seen from neighboring star systems. For 3 hours, the Allied fleet held the line. They destroyed dozens of Devourer ships and damaged hundreds more, but for every enemy vessel they eliminated, 2 more took its place. "Admiral," Captain Haywan called from the New Earth, "I am ready to begin my run. Dr. Young-Ho's device is armed and ready." Da-In looked at the tactical display. The Allied fleet was being pushed back despite their fierce resistance. The Devourers were simply too numerous and too powerful. If they were going to use the Cascade weapon, it had to be now. "Confirmed, Captain. All ships provide cover for the New Earth. Clear. A path to the center of the enemy. Formation." Every Allied ship turned their weapons toward the same objective, clearing a corridor through the Devourer fleet so one small ship could reach the center with its deadly cargo. The New Earth accelerated toward the heart of the enemy formation. Devourer ships converged on it from all sides, but the Allied fleet's covering fire kept them at bay. Captain Haywan flew her ship through explosions and energy beams that could vaporize mountains. "Approaching detonation point," she reported. 30 seconds to Cascade initiation. "All ships maximum retreat velocity," Dayun ordered. "Get as far from the blast radius as possible." The New Earth reached the center of the Devourer fleet and Haywan activated Dr. Young-Ho's device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a sphere of pure white light expanded outward from her ship, growing larger and brighter until it encompassed thousands of enemy vessels. The quantum cascade worked exactly as predicted. The Devourer's dimensional anchors collapsed simultaneously, causing their ships to tear themselves apart as they tried to exist in multiple realities at once. In seconds, the massive enemy fleet was reduced to scattered debris, but the explosion was larger than even Dr. Young-Ho had calculated. The cascade effect created a permanent rift in space-time at the galaxy's edge. Energy barriers formed that would prevent anything from entering or leaving the galaxy for the next 50,000 years. When the light faded, the Devourer threat was gone. The galaxy was safe, but it was also isolated from the rest of the universe. "Casualty reports," Dayun requested. "The New Earth was completely destroyed," reported her communications officer.